everyone. I am Rahul Sandilya, and in this fourth lecture of Internet of Things, we will continue our discuss regarding the protocols used in the IoT. So we have covered the physical and link layer, and today we will start from the transport layer. As you must be well aware of transport layer. Transport layer protocols provide end-to-end transfer capability. That means source to destinations. End-to-end connection is provided by the transport layer protocol, independent of underlying network. That is true for all our network protocol. In the application layer, the application has produced an instant message with its own protocol. So after the message is produced, after the data is produced by application protocol, it is responsibility of transport layer that it must perform the four things. The first one is the connections must be established between source and destination machines using handshake. Okay, handshake is a three-step process: sending request, acknowledge, and again sending request. So it is a three-step process in which connection is established in transport layer. The second step, transport layer create chunks of data known as the packets and datagram. There are two types of data and datagram, that is one for the TCP and another for the UDP. We'll see shortly these two formats. UDP is datagram is much shorter, and TCP datagram has a long length. Therefore, for IoT point of view, UDP data is more suited. Then next, the transport layer is responsible for flow control and multiplexing. That is how much, with what rate it must transmit the data and see whether it causing a high congestion or not. In flow control, it is possible that the transport layer can postpone the transmission of packets when network congestion is high. It can also request that destination computer respond at a slow rate if processing is slow. And in the final step, the responsibility of transport layer is to maintain the connection already established. So once the connection is established, then the transport layer has to maintain this connection for a particular time period, or for particular time. If message start sending and receiving, it automatically get disconnected. A connection is typically left open while packets and acknowledgements are traded back and forth. Closing the connection usually occurs by an explicit command from the source resource. So source give the command to disconnect it, indicating that the session should close, or because of timeout. As I have just said, because of timeout also the connection can be break. So here we can see the two kind of packet from transport. One is the TCP and another is this UDP. So we can see that UDP data packets is very short, and therefore it is more suited. Again, UDP is less reliable, TCP is more reliable. We will see shortly. It's transmission control protocol. So now let's take TCP. TCP create virtual circuits between host and guarantees features such as reliability, flow control, congestion avoidance, and multiplexing. So all these are performed by the transmission control protocol. It is the most widely used and the most popular application protocol, like HTTP, SMTP, and FTP are based on use TCP as their lower level protocol. So TCP is a connection oriented and stateful protocol. Connection oriented means once the connection is established, it can be written for a particular time duration, and again it is stateful, means The sending packet are aware of the previous packet. It is ordered. While IP protocol deals with sending packet, TCP ensures reliable transmission packets in order. As I have said, it is stateful, therefore it is ordered, and therefore it is also stateful. TCP also provides error detection capability. So it is a reliable transport protocol. TCP provides error detection capability so that the duplicate packets can be discarded and lost packets are retransmitted. Next, the TCP flow control capability of TCP ensures that the rate at which the sender sends the data is not too high for the receiver to process. And at last, the congestion control of TCP helps in avoiding network congestion and congestion collapse, which can lead to degradation of the network performance. Next is the UDP. As I have said, transport layer has two kind of data packets, TCP and UDP. So based on this data packet, we have two protocols. So user data protocol is very lightweight, and most of the IoT scenario it is more suitable than the TCP protocol. But remember, the IoT has much varied condition. Therefore, it is also sometimes the TCP protocol is also more suited. We will see in the application protocol some of the particular design protocols for IoT use TCP also. So UDP is the best effort protocol that allows packet transmission with minimum reliability. At the cost of minimum reliability, what we gain is the time. It is faster, it is less computing, but at the cost of reliability. UDP is useful for time sensitive applications that have very small units and do not want the overhead of the connection setup. Owing to its simplicity of implementation, it is very attractive option for the IoT scenario. Some of the properties of UDP protocol are these. UDP is a connectionless protocol. As we have seen, TCP was connection oriented. This is the connectionless protocol. That means every time we have to renew our connection. Again, UDP is a transaction oriented and a stateless protocol. While TCP was a stateful protocol, UDP is a stateless protocol, and it is transaction oriented. UDP is the best effort protocol that allows packet transmission with minimum reliability. So we received this time, reduced time and less computing at the cost of minimum reliability. So UDP is a lightweight, there is no ordering of messages, no tracking connection, and so on. In other words, UDP does not have an option for flow control. So UDP also has not option for the flow control. Means the rate of data is cannot be controlled in the UDP protocol. Next comes to the application. After the transport layer, if we see the TCP/IP stack, if you remember this, at the top layer it is the application layer. So we have covered link layer, internet layer, and transport layer. Now application layer. It is important for the IoT because there are many application protocols that are designed particularly for machine-to-machine communications. So we will see some of these protocols. So in short, application layer protocol defines how the application interface with lower layer protocols to send the data over the network. The application data typically is in files encoded by the application layer protocol and encapsulated in the transport layer protocols, which provide connection or transaction oriented communication over the network. Port number are used for application addressing. This is the important. Application protocol is the process to process communication, and therefore we have to identify the particular application. So for that we use the port number. Port number identify the particular application of some particular specified machines. For example, some ports are reserved while some ports are blank. They can be chosen randomly. So some reserved ports, for example, 80s are for HTTP, port 22 are for SSH, and so on. So application protocol provide end process to process connection. we'll see some of the application protocol that are customized or designed particularly suited for particularly for IoT technology. So the most popular one is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, that is the WWW. Hypertext Transfer Protocol is the application layer protocol that forms the foundation of the World Wide Web. As you must know, it is developed by Sir Tim Berners-Lee at the CERN lab. So HTTP is nothing but it has some special reserved command, words for the command. For example, get to send the request, put if you have to create some resource at the server end, post to create the and put to edit, therefore and delete commands to delete the resources, and head for headers and so on. So using these special word HTTP perform sending of pages like HTML or the TCP protocol. So the protocol follow a request response model where a client sends request to a server using HTTP commands. So these commands are used to send the request, and the request is sent by the client. This client server model. So HTTP is a stateless protocol. Again, it is a stateless protocol. That means once we send a request, that request is not independent of all other previous requests. So it has no memory no storage information storage of the past request, and each HTTP request is independent of the other request. That's what we mean by a stateless protocol. An HTTP client can be a browser or an application running on the client. HTTP protocol use universal resource URI to identify HTTP resource. So as I have said, there are some resources for the HTTP transfer. What we call, for example, images, HTML files, we call media. So every resources have some unique identity, and using this identity, the HTTP protocol identify the resources and send and receive these things. Next is the very important for the Internet of Things, that is Constant Application Protocol, COAP protocol. It is very important protocol and especially designed for HTTP protocol was very general, and mostly it is used by the web platform. Now COAP is particularly designed for the machine-to-machine information transmission. So COAP constant, as the name suggests, it works in the constant environment. In this constant environment, we have less computing resource, less energy. That means constant of power, conservation of computation resources, and constant less bandwidth. That is constant of network. So COAP is an application layer protocol for machine-to-machine application meant for constant environments with constant devices and constant networks. COAP is a web transfer protocol and uses a request response model. However, it runs on top of UDP instead of TCP. So this is important that COAP is run on the top of UDP. It is much like HTTP protocol, as we will see shortly, but it is while HTTP is based on TCP protocol, UDP is COAP protocol is based on the UDP. That's what you have to remember it. COAP is a client-server architecture, again same as the HTTP protocol. It is also a client-server architecture where clients communicate with the server using connectionless datagram. While HTTP was also a stateless protocol, it is also a connectionless datagram. COAP is designed easily interface with HTTP. So it is like HTTP. It is a proper, you can say, is a clone of HTTP for particularly suited for machine-to-machine interaction, and it runs on UDP instead of TCP. So it has also worked like HTTP. For example, get, put, post, delete. It supports asynchronous message exchange, support URL, that is URL, as I have just said, for resource allocation, and content types. In this diagram, we can see that the similarity between COP and HTTP. While at the top we see it is the HTTP, and in the COAP, while COAP runs on the UDP, HTTP runs on the say TCP. While UDP it has IPv6 and a special 6LoWPAN IP. HTTP can run both on IPv4 and IPv6. So link layer and the physical layer are same. Next is the MQTT. This is also especially designed for the machine-to-machine interaction, and this is one of the most popular, widely used nowadays for IoT applications, even more than the COAP protocol. But it runs on the TCP. Remember that COAP runs on the UDP, MQTT runs on the TCP, but it has a different architecture. While COAP was client-server architecture, MQTT is pub-sub model. We'll discuss later what is pub-sub model. So it is a publish-subscribe, extremely simple, lightweight messaging protocol designed for constant device and low bandwidth, high latency, and for unreliable networks. So in these circumstances, we use the MQTT where there is low bandwidth, high latency or unreliable networks, and constant devices. That we have the constant of power, constant of computation resources, and constant of bandwidth. So the design principles are to minimize network bandwidth and device resource requirement, which also attempt to ensure reliability and some degree of assurance of delivery. So it is a little more reliable than COAP and COAP protocol, as it is based on the TCP protocol. So here we have some properties or features of the MQTT protocol. Message queue telemetry transport, that is the MQTT is a lightweight messaging protocol based on publish subscribe model. As I have said, it is not the client server architecture, it is the public subscribe model, and public subscribe model use a message broker as a middleware. We'll see it shortly. MQTT use client server architecture where the clients such as IoT devices connected to the server called the MQTT broker, where it is not the client server architecture similar to the COAP or HTTP. It has a different. We call it client server, but basically it involves a intermediate middleware. So we can call client as any other nodes and server as the MQTT broker, but it is not a typical client server architecture. And publish message to the topics on the server. So here topic is a special message, means there are different topics. The client message broker has different topics, and sender sends a message belonging to particular topics, and receiver has subscribed particular topics, and they receive the message for particular topics. The broker forward the message to the client subscribed to the topics. MQTT is well suited for constant environment where the devices have limiting process and memory resource and network bandwidth is low. So in this diagram we can see there are different topics like temperature, motion sensors, and moisture sensors. So these can be three different topics, and here in intermediate we see MQTT broker which acts as a middleware. So in MQTT broker we have these three topics, and particular node send message, client message connect to brokers and send this message for particular topics, and again the receiver, that is the MQTT broker forward this message to the subscribed receiver. So the next protocol is the WebSocket. WebSocket is a very popular protocol to develop the chat application like chat application. It is a full duplex communication. These are the WebSocket are not special for IoT. These are in general. Now we will see some general protocol that is also used for the IoT, and that is the WebSocket. WebSocket is a full duplex communication. That is from the both sides, server and client. The communication can be started. Unlikely the HTTP, where the communication request is sent by the client. Uh, in WebSocket, both server and client can send the request, and that's why it is used for massive chatting type of application, and it is also connection for WebSocket protocol full duplex over a single socket connection. Also, to remember here, it is single socket connections for message between client and server, and it allows a stream of the message. It allows a stream of the message to be sent back and forth between the client and server while keeping the TCP connection open. So the connection is kept open in the WebSocket, unlikely the HTTP where TCP connection are closed up once the message is delivered. The client can be a browser, a mobile application, or an IoT device. Another important one is the XMPP. It is quite versatile protocol, and the popular apps like WhatsApp use XMPP protocol. So XMPP, Extensible Messaging Presence Protocol, is a real-time communication streaming XML data between network entities. XMPP powers the range of applications, including messaging, presence, data syndication, gaming, multiple party chat, and voice and video call. Therefore, it is also suited for voice and video call, streaming, gaming, and very much like. So it's used XML data, unlike HTML used by the HTTP. XMPP allows sending small chunks of XML data from one network entity to another near real time. That's why it is suitable for video streaming or voice call. XMPP is a decentralized protocol and used client-server architecture. XMPP supports both client-to-server and server-to-server communication. In the context of IoT, XMPP allows real-time communication between IoT and devices. So XMPP is a heavy protocol, but in the IoT where we need to communicate in real time, we can use the XMPP protocol. So another one is the data distribution service, DDC protocol. Data distribution service is a data-centric middleware. It is like the middleware. So middleware is some intermediate programs that in fact translate the receiving message protocol to the sending message protocol. DDS use publish subscribe model where publishers device that generate data create topics to which subscribe device that want consume data can subscribe. Publisher is an object responsible for data distribution, and the subscriber is responsible for receiver published data. DDS provides quality of service control and configure reliability. So it has better quality of control service and configure reliability. And the last one is Advanced Messaging Queuing Protocol, AMQP. Advanced Messaging Queuing is an open application layer protocol based for business messaging. Supports both point-to-point and publish subscribe model. So it has this feature that both point-to-point and publish subscribe model, and routing and queuing. It is also used by routing and queuing. So it acts as a broker. As the name suggests, message queuing protocol. So it acts as a broker. AMQP broker receive message from publishers, device, application, and route them over connection to consumers. Publisher publish the message to exchange, which can distribute message copies to the queue. Messages are either delivered by the broker to the consumer, which have subscribed to the queues, or consumer can pull the message from the queue. And here we end this lecture.